welcome to our slightly later episode of Unboxing. I'm Ayzha.
I'm Nevada.
Thank you so much for tuning in with us today. So the first half of today's show, we're going to jump straight into it. We have a guest with us, and we're just going to see if we've got them on the line. Hi, Charlene, you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Charlene. Thank you for joining us today. If you could just introduce yourself for us.
Hi, my name is Charlene. I think of my name in there.
That's all right. First question.
Hi, guys. So my name is Charlene Francis. You just want my name, right?
Yeah, just a little introducing to yourself. So Charlene is a teacher, an important teacher that is. What is your official title, Charlene?
So right now I am head of religious studies and also citizenship.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah,
those are my favorite subjects back in high school.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, look, you got a fan. This is Nevada, by the way. This is our co-host.
Hi.
Hi. Did you say religious studies or citizenship?
Citizenship.
Citizenship, really?
Yeah.
I don't normally get that. Why was citizenship your favorite subject?
Ooh, well, I think I just kind of liked finding out how the country worked and stuff, and then also my teacher was super nice, so it was a win-win.
Yeah.
I mean, that helps. Why are you surprised that that's her favorite over religious studies?
Because religious studies, I think because obviously religious studies is my main subject. That's what I train. That's what I breathe, eat, sleep. And I expect everybody to love religious studies, so
I mean, if that is your main thing, then you want everyone to love it. But no, that's cool. I didn't actually know that was one of your favorite subjects. Well, look at that, how the world brings us together. But yeah, we actually spoke with Charlene a few weeks back. This is why we've got her on the show, because obviously it's nice to hear the opinions of teachers rather than just what tabloids think teachers are talking about. But she was making some very good points, and we were discussing the strikes that have been all over the news lately. So Charlene, we would love to hear, because obviously I imagine your work community is mostly teachers, and others in education. I'd just love to hear your opinion on the strikes from both sides. Feel free to let loose on your opinion.
Okay, so it's a real tricky one, to be honest. So I'm 10 years deep in the game. I've been doing this for quite a while now. First of all, I just want to put out there, I love my job. I don't do this for the money, because if I did, then I'd be in a different job. I generally love working with young people. I have some amazing students. And I understand, that at the minute, in terms of the cost of living, and even if you take out the cost of living out of the scenario, if I want to go on holiday, okay, and now I understand off-peak, on-peak, blah, blah, blah. If I want to go on holiday, so right now I'm looking to go away in August for an all-inclusive week to Greece. I'm looking at £1,000 minimum. I'm not flying first class. I'm not, this is down the road to Greece. Holiday prices in those peak times are crazy. Now, people always say to me, you get all these holidays. First of all, I work in my holidays. And second of all, I can't afford to go nowhere, because our pay doesn't reflect the fact that how much money we then have to pay to go on holiday. That's one little rant. Let's get back to the strike. I understand the reason as to why the unions have decided to take strike action, in terms of the fact that actually our pay is not reflecting the current climate that we're living in. We're not having pay cuts, but we're not getting the pay rises that we should be getting, the increments that we should be getting. Different councils are doing different things, and it is just a little bit cray-cray out there. Pretty much most of my friends are teachers. It's a little bit of a sad world, but a lot of my friends are teachers, and a lot of them chose to strike. Now, I did not strike, and it was a real hard decision for me, if I'm being really honest. My main reason for not striking is because this is a crucial time for my GCSE students and my A-level students, and every strike day has been on a day when I have those lessons. So I'm now making a choice. Do I strike and stand up for what I believe in, or do I go in and do I teach my students because their exam is coming up, and actually this is what I do. I want the best for my students. I want them to succeed. And actually, striking at this moment in time will be detrimental for them. Now, it wasn't an easy choice to make. And it was really funny. The first strike day, I went in and my students were like, "Why are you here?" I was like, "Because I want to teach you." And they were like, "Yeah, but miss, you're the most opinionated. You've got morals. You stand out for what you believe in. Why are you not striking?"
They were sad they couldn't have their free day off.
Yep. Well, they had to be in anyway, but they wanted a cover teacher. I was like, no, you're not having a cover teacher.
They expected YouTube videos that day, yeah?
Yeah, I was like, no, not my words. You have an exam, I'm here, and actually I will be here every strike day because we haven't finished the content. I want to make sure that you have the best so that you can succeed in your exams, and it's not been an easy decision, especially when a lot of my friends are striking, and also a low blow when the government comes up with the offer that they came up with yesterday. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, seriously? You want to give me £1,000? Okay.
And what was like the time period for that? What was that £1,000 going to cover?
Well, first of all, I don't know when it's coming. So you're going to give me £1,000. Possibly that depends on the school, if the school has it.
Really?
Because the money isn't coming from the government. Let's just put that out there. And then they want to give me a 4.3% raise. Again, that's not coming from the government. I think the government will cover half of it, and then the school's expected to find that money. Not every teacher is guaranteed that raise. And I'm like, really? Seriously? You think that that's acceptable?
It's almost just bare minimum to just get people to pipe down and be quiet, and that's just not enough, really, is it?
Especially when actually, if you look at what Scotland have done, Scotland have the right idea. They gave their teachers, I think it was like a 7.5% raise. They backdated it to April last year.
Wow.
And then there's another I think it's 3-something% rise coming after that. So potentially they've got over the 10% that they wanted, because they realise actually teachers are important. Teachers need to be valued, and we should be paying the teachers what they deserve,
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet here, but I am a good teacher. I'm a very good teacher. I'm an excellent teacher.
I believe you.
And if it wasn't for the likes of us, and if it wasn't for, us teachers that have been deep in the game doing it for a long time, we wouldn't have successful young people. We wouldn't have creative young people. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to go to university. I'm not saying that everybody has to get A stars or 9s or whatever it is. But actually, that inspiration starts from being at school. Mm-hmm. And you're not going to get there if you don't have those teachers that genuinely care about you, that want to invest in you. How can we do that if we're not even respected by the government?
No, I agree. Teachers, you always hear stories of people, even well into adulthood, like, oh yeah, I had a single teacher who actually cared about me. And it made a massive difference in how I looked at education. Because it does. If you feel your teachers don't value you as a person, and I do find there are some teachers who just look at students as that, they're just kids. They don't look at them as people.
Yeah. Definitely. And
it's important to.
Ones that have been there, from when there was, blackboards and chalk.
They've been there since the schools were put up, yeah?
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, no, it is. I agree with you. It's beyond important to make sure you value your students and you genuinely care about how... Because, second parents is a bit of a high title, but you are there as adults helping them grow.
They're the adults that you see
more than
your parents sometimes, to be completely honest.
Let me tell you, when people think they're like, oh, you're just a teacher. Listen, I am mum, I am dad, I'm auntie, I'm granny, I am their first aider, I'm their banker, I'm their chef, I bring them food, I spot them a little money if they can't get the bus home. If they have a medical issue, they want to come talk to me. I'm also their sexual health clinic when they want to talk about things that might be burning.
Yeah.
I'm their relationship guidance counsellor.
But that's good that they trust you and feel comfortable enough in your space to be able to approach you and talk about these things, because a lot of them probably don't have the ability. Yeah, they can't do that at home. I know some parents are quite I don't know, restricted in how much like open conversation they hold with their children, especially when they're going through like puberty, because sometimes they find it too much of a conversation. Whereas you guys, that's your bread and butter, that's your daily.
Teachers are a literal
and I think
godsend.
that's the beauty of the subject that I teach. You know, we talk about some hard-hitting things. So, you know, I have to make sure my students feel safe in the classroom to discuss it. And then that opens the door to all kinds of things. Like you never know what they're going to say. You never know what they're going to disclose. You know, the most randomest questions. I also teach like sex education and stuff like that. Like, yeah, that in itself, trying to teach that to like 14, 15-year-olds that think that they know everything and, you know, come out and be like, but miss, you know, if I wear 10 condoms and, you know, it's fine. Please don't do that. That's not going to help you.
You must have some hilarious days, because you're right, 14-year-olds are hilarious. They're so funny. Teenagers are so funny, and like half the time they didn't mean to be.
Yeah, totally. Every day. You never know.
Like, yeah, I imagine it's rewarding in many ways, like when it comes to your relationship with your students, but then you go home and you're like, man, heating or electric today?
Yeah, and the thing is, people also don't realize like your job never stops. You know, they leave and they go to university, but I've still got students that holler at me. You know, I've got students who have gone to university and still hit me up and they're like, Miss, can you just check this essay before I hand it in? I'm like, yo, listen, go find your lecturer.
You know what, I'm gonna be real. I graduated in 2019, and for like 2 years after that, I would every now and then contact my old lecturer, like the only lecturer that was worth talking to out of that bunch. And every now and then I message him like, hey, Simon, I'm doing this thing for a client. Is this okay? Am I doing this right? And he's like, yeah, you're doing it fine. That's cool. Maybe change this. And I'm like, cool, thanks, man. And then just not talk to him again for another 6 months.
But and that's honestly, like, that's okay. That's what we're here for. Like, you build a relationship with these young people. Like, some of these kids, like, I've had since, like, they were, like, 12, and then I keep them all the way until they're, like, 18. You know, the other day, I went to one of their 21st birthday parties. Yeah, that was random.
That's sweet.
But, yeah, it was sweet. But also, like, I feel hella old. You know, we put our all into these kids. You know, we put our everything that we have into these young people.
And that does show. And it like, and you said when you and I spoke a few weeks back, that you find it hard not striking because you feel like you need to be putting your foot down, but at the same time you know it's a lot harder for the teachers that are, because you know exactly what it is they're leaving behind to go and strike.
Yes, and it's not an easy choice. You know, the media kind of puts out there like, you know, us teachers are striking because, you know, we're making these demands, you know, and it's the kids are the future. That's not an easy decision to make. If you are a teacher that is great at their job and generally cares for these young people, when we wake up in that strike day morning and we don't set the cover work, we don't set the lesson, and that is a day's worth of learning, like that's not an easy decision to make, to choose to allow that to happen.
Yeah, I understand.
It's not, we're not doing this on a whim, we're not going to have a jolly, you know. Every day that I don't strike, I feel guilty. I feel guilty, like, walking past my colleagues on, like, the picket line to go in and teach, when I know that actually I should also be standing in solidarity with them.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like on both sides, regardless of what decision you make, both of them are for the best interest of the students in the end game. Yourselves also, but the students at the end of the day.
Definitely, because then, you know what, you'll get a higher caliber of teachers. You know, like I said, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I'm tired. Like, my soul is tired. I have given my all, and the reality is, like, it's getting harder. It's getting harder and harder every year. You know, the expectations that the government put on us is getting higher and higher. I'm not getting any less time of work. I actually work longer hours, you know, and don't get me started in terms of, like, pandemic and the effect that it had on
I was about to get you started on terms of pandemic. I can't lie.
But I mean, like, in terms of, like, the detrimental effect that it's had on our young people. So by the time they come to me in, like, year 7, when the reality is they should be at least able to write their name, you know, their social, like, interaction, like, is stunted. And now we have to start from scratch. But I'm not giving any extra more hours to do that. I still have to get you up to where you need to be in time for your exam, with everything else that's happening and life happening and hormones, and it's just...
don't get me wrong, I'd considered, obviously, the pandemic happened and there was a good, a solid year and a half, 2 years where there was just no proper school. But I didn't actually think about the fact that, New Year 7s, hypothetically, this year, last year,
5.
They would have been, year 4 or 5. So their mental capacity, to some degree, would kind of just,
stunted.
Stopped a little bit.
It just stopped. It just stopped. And the thing is, we're gonna see the aftermath. I don't think people realize, we're gonna be seeing the aftermath of this for years. So think about the year that didn't actually sit their GCSE and A levels.
Was that the first year of the pandemic?
Yeah. So the first year, year 11s, they didn't sit their exams. They didn't sit their exams. They literally got given a grade. So then, when they then came to do their A levels, I'm telling you, crazy anxiety, because they've never sat in the hall and sat a real exam.
Oh,
whereas normally, you go from GCSE, A levels get a little bit harder, but you've had the preparation, of being in an exam hall for 2 hours and sitting your English GCSE or whatever. So now when you come to do your A level, you're like, okay, cool, this is just, it's just the same. It's just like your GCSE, your preps, your primes, you're good to go. If you've never had that, you've had no experience of that. You've had no results there, you had no prom, all those things were taken away from you. And now we're just expected for you to be grown. Now you're off to university when you haven't had those experiences yet.
Yeah, it's a massive deal. I have often tell myself, I feel very behind wherever I am in life, and I'm 26. Just because I've lost 3 years, I graduated and I had it 9 months and then we hit a pandemic. So I personally thought, wow, I feel quite behind compared to people a couple years older than me. But I'd never considered, not completely, just how much it would affect kids. You got to think, to put it in perspective, their percentage of life is going to be a lot smaller. So they spent a larger percentage of their life in the lockdown than we did.
Yeah.
And
then if you think of our younger ones, where we're talking primary school, those are the crucial years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they spent that in the pandemic. So then, what I tell you now, the year 7s that we have now, oh my goodness, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking.
Really?
I'm talking academically, some of them, their reading ages are really low, because depending on the family, depending on their home life, depends on actually how much work they would have done.
Yeah, because there was no way for you guys to monitor that properly during the pandemic. I imagine you guys did the best to your ability at the time. But
right, if and I'm not trying to act parents, I understand it was hard, but if you're at home with parents who are illiterate themselves, how are they going to help you? How are they going to support you? How are they going to read your reading book with you?
And that's not even anything that's unfathomable, because you got to think of how many parents' second language is English, and you know what I mean.
My parents could not help me with my math homework to save their lives.
If your first language isn't English, but you're raising a kid here, and you're not going to be able to teach them what they need, even the bare minimum. And that's not to the fault of the parent.
Right. So then, that's 2 years loss of learning, then go back into education. But the reality is we haven't been given an extra 2 years.
Yeah.
You now come back into school at this, expected to have, progressed as you should do in those 2 years. The work hasn't got any easier. So the first exams after the pandemic, the grade boundaries were a little bit lower, and the exam questions were a little bit nicer. But this year the exam grade boundaries are going to be really high.
Really?
And they're going to go back to 2019. And the reality is, still dealing with 2 years loss of learning.
Yeah, I was gonna say surely that's they're not even trying to ease it in. They're just going straight back to what it was before.
Yeah, this will be our first year back.
That feels kind of irresponsible.
I heard 2019.
But the thing is, though, it's okay, because you know what? Who's to blame if the kids don't get it? Me.
Yep.
Us teachers. Yep. We're to blame when the students don't make the progress that they're supposed to be making. Rather than actually, let's take into consideration here that we're still dealing with the effects of the pandemic here.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's
this is a government that didn't even take into consideration, I'd say kids from like lower income households or kids of immigrants or kids that go to like public schools.
Oh yeah, not even a little bit. At the start of the pandemic, when they tried to introduce, when they had to introduce home learning through computers and that, and then they suddenly came to the realization that
not
oh my
everyone
gosh,
has Wi-Fi.
Not everyone has Wi-Fi or computers.
Laptop. Like
yeah.
This was like the things put in place were for kids from higher income households who probably go to like privately educated like
or even the
systems and
schools
stuff.
that just get more funding.
Yeah,
they exist, but like then lower income schools just aren't going to get that. Because I have clear memories. Obviously, we weren't doing home learning when I was at school, but I have clear memories of like teachers making. At the time, it felt like teachers making a really big deal out of like the Pritt sticks they bought out of their own money. Because I was 14 and I didn't care, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. I was 14. I was like, why are you making it's a Pritt stick? As an adult, that like just that alone, having to take any kind of you guys' own money to go put into the school for the students, that shouldn't have to happen.
The markers,
and that's just the bare minimum.
Yeah, the markers, they'd be like, please cap back because these are mine. These belong to my kids. Like I bought them in for you guys to just use because we don't have them.
I don't want to see you dig it out, please. Like make sure you put the lid on it. Like please don't let it dry out. And can you please put it back in the box? You become very precious about these things.
But like, yeah, I get it now. I understand more. I kind of wish I'd understood more as a kid. But again, as a kid, like it's difficult to see the bigger picture.
It was out of love and care for like our education.
Like I don't know. Sometimes I think about I wasn't a horrible kid in high school. It does sound like someone just fell in the hallway. Yes. I wasn't a horrible kid in high school, but I used to just think, wow, teachers are they just moan a lot about stuff. But like you guys have a lot of reason to moan a lot about stuff.
They had to deal with us and then go home and grade our work.
And also, like, let's just face it, the pandemic was tiring.
Yeah, it was exhausting.
Exhausting for us as teachers, and we've had no get up. We've had no it was okay. Schools closed. Online learning. Now you have to change the whole way that you teach. Change all your resources. We're starting from scratch. Okay, now we've got to figure this. Oh no, now you're back in school. Oh no, some of you are back in school. Not everyone's back in school. Oh, now we're online again. Like it was like yo-yoing. And I understand that the world was also experiencing this. I'm not trying to say that teachers had it worse than anybody else. But then come September, when everyone's back in school, like we hit the ground running. And you're like, just go, new normal, sanitize everything, clean this, do this. Like the kids have to be away from you. You can't teach. So for example, when I teach, I kind of like walk around my classroom and I stand by the desk. So now I'm like, I've been told, no, you can't do that. There's like a line in my classroom with tape. You can't cross the tape and the kids can't cross the tape and there's a screen.
Sounds very military.
Oh, I'm telling you. So then this is now your new normal. Oh, well, now that's changed and now it's this and literally, like you just, as soon as you got used to something, there was another change. And then now everything's like back to normal and you're just expected to just continue, like keep going. And I'm like, okay, do you know what would be nice? Can I have a holiday? Can I afford to go on holiday? Can I have a little sunshine, please? Can I just take a moment?
I mean, you can only go on holiday if you're trying to pay summer holiday prices, isn't it?
Yeah,
and that's it. That's the
crazy
thing.
Can we just take a second to realize that 4.3 increase in pay doesn't reflect the fact that inflation went up.
I was gonna say 10. How they 4.3%. They're like, oh yeah, by the way, taxes went up, electric went up, heating went up. But here's your 4.3. I hope you really enjoy the extra £1.50 petrol.
Yeah. That may come, may come at some point. Who knows? But who knows when that's coming?
The hypothetical £1,000. It's just a carrot on a stick to keep you going. That's what that is.
Really.
So we're running up to the last few minutes of our time, and I know I briefed you through the questions before, and I know this is quite a loaded question. Obviously teachers need help right now, all across the country, up and down, every single one of you lot. What do you think would be the first step into genuinely giving teachers a hand where they need it?
Do you know, I would, this is a hard one.
I know.
Do you know what would be nice? It would be nice if we had, in an ideal world, and maybe this is a bit cray-cray, like a staggered kind of holiday. This kind of work for six weeks, 7 weeks, sometimes 8 weeks, then bam, then you stop. Then you work again like the 8 weeks, and you're like going around like a hamster, then bam, then you stop. I find that every holiday I'm sick. I come down with a cold, I get the flu, because literally I'm so run down, and the minute my body stops, I like just get hit.
It gets time to actually repair itself. Yeah.
So I don't know, something to do with the holidays, maybe.
It is quite an old set system, the way school holidays work. So I imagine it's been like, obviously the 6-8 weeks over August, July time. I imagine it's been like that for a while. Kind of it's outdated. I feel like in a lot of sectors, like everywhere and things we do throughout life, especially here in the UK, are rules and regulations and ideals that we set out anymore. Like 50, 60, 70 years ago.
Yes. But also as well, like, it has been like that for years. Our working hours are longer now.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
I don't finish school at 3:30 and come home, you know. I also just like to put, I email my kids at the weekend, like, you know. Also, I've been today once. I went to Amsterdam once, and I had Miss Clark. Right? I had Miss Clark for lunch with a student. Like, yeah, our job it's just never ends.
Yeah, you guys, you deserve a break.
More money, which would be nice.
Yep.
And also more money for our younger teachers, because there's no incentive to stay in the game.
Do you see a lot of younger teachers cycle through the schools?
Yeah, and then leave because it's stressful, it's hard, and let's face it, I'm not atting you young'uns, but the millennials can't hack it, you know, when it gets a little bit stressful, when they have kids that don't like them, or, you know, the kids are challenging, you know, they're like, well, screw this, I can get more money elsewhere. Let me go and work in the private sector. Or let me go, you know.
No, right, that's probably a big, don't get me wrong, yeah, don't get me wrong, people my age, a little bit older, we are quite impatient. I'll give you that. But the whole, I can go and get more money elsewhere, that alone is probably the main, obviously the issues with kids not liking you is a whole thing you need to go over. Kids don't like you no matter what you do.
I feel like millennials are a little bit sensitive.
I agree.
Kids will say they don't like you and then turn around and be like...
I have a young once who cried because the students wrote over their books, oh, we hate Mrs. blah, blah, blah.
Oh my God.
And she was like really upset. I was like, my friend, you're in the wrong job.
Yeah, kids are mean. I remember a teacher quit in my school once because of our class. We were not a nice class. She was also not...
Kids can be horrible. I tell my students all the time, no new friends. I don't need you to be my friend. Enough friends.
It's a tough job in every area, like being a teacher. Like, respect to anyone who teaches specifically children. I imagine university teaching is still a bit long, but those are adults. If you got problems with adults, I don't know, take them outside.
Ages between like 3 to 15.
Ooh.
You're an angel.
Yeah, man.
I don't do young ones. I just want to put that out there.
The ones you can have sensible conversations with. You try to argue with a 5-year-old, you're not winning.
Please go wash your hands.
They can blow their nose and wipe their bum by the time they
man.
Yep.
Like, you're like, okay, cool. Can I talk to you now? No. Okay, cool, sick. But no, I do. You've made some really good points. And I'd like to think somebody with some power is listening and they can go, oh yeah, maybe I should make some good decisions and help the teachers. Because you guys go through a lot. And you do literally build the people that like turn into the citizens of this country. So we should give you some more respect. Which we...
Yeah, please.
I'll spread the word. I'll contact my people. I'll see what I can get done. But on a serious note, we thank all you teachers, whether you're on the picket line, whether you're in the classrooms, because you're all doing your best to make sure kids get what they need.
That's true.
But thank you so much for joining us today, Charlene.
It was really lovely to have you.
Thank you for having me.
No, you've made some great points. You've been a really good guest. I hope you guys enjoyed that really informative half of the show, because I think that's the most information we've had in one half of the show.
In a very, very long time.
It was great though, because I like to run on behalf of teachers, but I don't really know what I'm talking about, other than they work too hard for what they get. Yeah. So it was nice to have an actual teacher, not just a teacher, the head of department, an actual teacher come on and give their opinion, because I feel like of all this time where it's been like teachers striking, teachers having to teach at home, having to teach online, we didn't really ever get too many opinions.
And to be honest, I've seen too many opinion pieces written by all sorts of people talking about like how teachers have no right to be doing what they're doing.
Yeah, like what are you on about? Like I see tweets like, oh, the teachers are complaining again. Like, yes.
They teach your kids.